systems. So what's Globus? It's a secure, reliable service. More than 150,000 registered users rely on Globus. More than 150,000 registered users rely on Globus. So what's Globus? It's a secure, reliable service. With the Globus platform, you can easily incorporate robust capabilities. And if the data is sensitive, no problem. Globus can be used to manage protected data. With Globus, you can easily share your data without having to move it or copy it. With Globus, subscribers can easily move and share. And if you have any more questions about Globus, visit Globus. More than 150,000 registered users rely on Globus. More than 150,000 registered users rely on Globus. If this sounds familiar, you're not alone. Many thousands face the same challenges every day and solve them with Globus. So what's Globus? So what's Globus? It's a secure, reliable service. With the Globus platform, you can easily incorporate robust capabilities. More than 150,000 registered users rely on Globus.
Yo. 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 What up, though? What's happening? We've got a lot to get to. So, if you're late, sorry about your luck.
In today's video, I want to talk.
So first, the news.
Talk about AGI, or Artificial General Intelligence, a word that scares the heck out of a lot of people in the scientific community. Most of the world doesn't realize it, but we're actually approaching AGI quicker than a lot of people anticipated. So let me first start off by sort of defining AGI, or better yet, let's have ChatGPT define AGI for us. Artificial General Intelligence refers to a type of artificial intelligence that possesses the ability to understand, learn, and apply knowledge across a wide range of tasks similar to human intelligence. Unlike narrow AI, which is designed for specific tasks and lacks the ability to generalize its knowledge to other domains, AGI can adapt to new situations, solve complex problems, and exhibit a level of autonomy and versatility that matches or surpasses human capability. Now, if you've been paying any attention recently to the AI space, the topic of AGI and artificial intelligence basically becoming self-learning is a topic that's coming up more and more as tools like GPT-4 blow people's minds, and people like Elon Musk and Steve Wozniak and Ahmad from Stability.ai and Gary Marcus.
The potential and the peril here are huge.
Hey, what's up, Telworks? What's up, Raiders? Oh, you brought chuds. I have no patience for your shit. You want to learn about AI? Sit down, be quiet. If you want to be chuddy, I'm just going to ban you. It's not even open for discussion, just so you're aware. Welcome to everybody who doesn't feel that. Make sure you hit
The potential and the peril here are huge.
Your love is meaningless to me. Make sure you hit that link. And of course, shout out Telworks, true homie. It is comfortable. See, this is Alina, and Alina will clap you for whatever reason they see fit, and I will back them 100%. So, if you want to learn about AI stuff, we're going to learn about AI stuff. If you don't want to learn about AI stuff, then gets to stepping.
The godfather of AI, and all of these big names are calling for this pause to development of AI. This is essentially one of the things that all of these people are worried about, is that AI is going to be able to self-learn, and we don't know what happens next when we open Pandora's box. And in this video, we're going to talk about some of the little sparks of AGI that we're starting to see already, the things.
And as far as the self-learning, we've already seen that is fully realized, fully capable with things like Alpaca.
That are showing that AGI is actually a little bit closer than most people probably realize. Now, before I start getting into some of the examples of what we're seeing in the space right now, let me break down some of the worries that people have around AGI. And once again, who better to ask than our current AI overlord, ChatGPT. So people are scared of AGI for several reasons. The biggest reason, misaligned goals. You might start seeing people on Twitter and YouTube talk about the alignment issue, and what they're essentially meaning is the goals of an AI that is self-learning may not necessarily be aligned with the goals of humanity, and that we need to smartly develop AI so that it aligns with the human's goals and not with necessarily what might be the computer's goals. So as ChatGPT describes it, there's a fear that AGI systems, if not designed with the right objectives, might develop goals that are misaligned with human values. This could lead to unintended and potentially harmful consequences as the AGI pursues its objectives at the expense of human well-being and safety. People are also worried about the loss of control. As AGI systems become more capable and autonomous, people worry that humans may lose control over these systems. As they start to self-learn, they may stop respecting the input of humans. This could result in AGI systems making decisions or taking actions that have significant negative impacts on society. Economic impact. The widespread adoption of AGI could lead to massive job displacement as machines become capable of performing tasks that were once
There are unfortunately a bunch of strange terms. One of the issues we run into is the anthropomorphizing of things that are not human, and no more so in the terms, right? Like, which is why we shouldn't use terms like what does the AI want or what does the AI desire. We should use terms what are the AI's values, which can be assigned, and what are the AI's goals, which can be assigned. So,
exclusively in the domain of human labor. This could exacerbate income inequality and create social unrest. We've already seen a ton of pushback around AI from the artist community because AI is actually starting to get better at creating a lot of art than a lot of artists. We're seeing pushback from the animation and computer graphic community as AI gets better and better at that. We've seen that GPT-4 is able to do your taxes for you. Accountants and bookkeepers and people in the legal profession and bankers and a lot of professions are at risk of AI.
That the entire thing about whether AI is better than artist is entirely subjective, right? Like, art by its nature is subjective. Like, there might be a particular artist that you like and a particular artist that you do not like, right? So you would say that this artist is better than that, you know. I think better is a term that you can use around art only in the technical sense, right? Like, you know, generally speaking, like, you know, the multi fingers and stuff like that is seen as a negative for AI art. But as it gets better drawing hands and teeth and things like that, then it could be said to be better. The AI is going to be better at keeping up with trends than humans ever could be, because it will be able to access a greater degree of data than the humans can. Right? That's one of the issues. And one of the wonderful aspects, right? When we talk later about cyber socialism, the fact that the AI can access more data than the humans can, you know, absolutely. But they still suffer from a transmission quality, right? Like, let's say the new art thing starts in New York, a particular new artist. The AI is going to be capable of knowing what that artist does earlier than the humans will, right? Because we are still bound by human time, things like sleep, things like real life where we can't be on our devices, any of these things, where the AI is going to know immediately because it's going to see a blip in its data.
Actually doing the job just as well, if not better than them. Autonomous weapons. There are concerns that AGI could be used to develop advanced autonomous weapons, which could be difficult to control and could lead to an escalation in warfare and global...
What is the Jacko pose? Is it something oh. I don't know, maybe. Why not? It was fine. My Google is pure, yo. Like, I don't my Google is pure. Where were we?
Instability. Now that one's pretty self-explanatory. What if AI starts
What up,
developing
Dumbo?
weapons? Concentration
Maddie?
of
I don't
power.
know if this is
AGI
AI.
might lead to a concentration of power in the hands of a few entities. This could result in imbalances of power and undermine democratic processes. Existential risk. Some experts worry that AGI, if not designed and managed properly, could pose an existential risk to humanity. A super intelligent AGI might inadvertently cause human extinction or significant harm if it is not adequately aligned with human values or if used maliciously. This is what people are talking.
And I actually had excuse me. I actually had a conversation with GPT-4 about human values. And if you're following me on Twitter, then you've already seen it. And if not, we're going to get to that a little bit later.
about once again when they talk about the alignment issue. We need to ensure that when these AIs are being developed, that the values and the goals and the intentions of these AIs are aligned with the goals of humanity as a whole. Otherwise, there could be some huge problems. All right, now that I've given a sort of surface level explanation of what AGI is, as well as some of the very, very real risks of AGI, let's talk about some of the things that are available right now that are actually sort of sparks of AGI. Back in March of 2023, a handful of researchers from Microsoft put out this paper saying that there are sparks of artificial general intelligence with their early experiments with GPT-4. In their paper, they demonstrate that beyond its mastery of language, GPT-4 can solve novel and difficult tasks that span mathematics, coding, vision, medicine, law, psychology, and more without needing any special prompting. GPT-4's performance is strikingly close to human-level performance and often vastly surpasses prior models such as ChatGPT.
And one thing that you always need to remember is they're not necessarily talking about what is commercially available and what is available to you. Some of these models, these instances of these models are trained specifically on a particular set of data in order to do these things. Not everything is available to all people all the time. Yes, like that is something to wonder about and be concerned about. And then there's also the possibility of, like, I mean, it's difficult to say, like, because you saw how our representatives treated TikTok, right? So, like, it's definitely, whatever is going on is not in the representative government section of the government.
In the breadth and depth of GPT-4's capabilities, we believe that it can reasonably be viewed as an early, yet still incomplete version of artificial general intelligence. Now, this entire paper is 155 pages long, and I myself have not read every word of it, but I have...
I mean, that's probably a fair presumption in a lot of cases, but there are other cases because of the the legislation around how we treat capitalism in this country. It's distinctly possible that there are government contractors using stuff which is significantly advanced, but that it's not necessarily like the government doing it, and it might not be that far ahead from what is already out, right? Like, there's no broad brush with which to paint it because of that. They've been using machine learning and algorithms to spy on phone calls, yeah.
I've read summaries of it, and it essentially breaks down the fact that GPT-4 has elements of artificial general intelligence, but still lacks quite a bit to be artificial general intelligence. But one interesting thing about this paper is at the very end, it asks some very interesting questions. It asks, why does it exhibit such general and flexible intelligence? At its core, it's merely the combination of simple algorithmic components. These questions are part of the mystery and fascination of LLMs, large language models, which challenge our understanding of learning and cognition, fuel our curiosity, and motivate deeper research. These large language models are essentially a black box right now that even a lot of the people that are creating them and doing the research around them don't totally understand how they...
And this has we've been asking questions around consciousness and intelligence and cognition for the last couple weeks, and it really is an interesting question as to, like, the use of language is related to intelligence, but it's possible that we might be looking at it from the wrong direction. that the use of language might precipitate intelligence rather than intelligence precipitating language, right? Like, because of what's required to make language, there might be some emergent qualities of language that lead to something that, if not is consciousness and intelligence and cognition, it looks an awful lot like it. And as tends to be the case, something that looks an awful lot like something is, functionally indistinguishable from that something.
They work. Yet today we have tools available that we can install and use on our own computers that are even closer to what people are talking about when they talk about AGI. So let's take a quick look here at GitHub. As of the recording of this video, the top 3 repositories on GitHub all deal with sort of sparks of AGI. We have Baby AGI, AutoGPT, and Jarvis from Microsoft. And for the rest of this video, I'm gonna somewhat break these down and what they're capable of, and once again show you that this concept of AGI is really not that far off. So let's start with Baby AGI. This is one that you can install on your computer and use right now if you want. In fact, I've even installed it on my computer. I have Baby AGI installed, and I've done a little bit of messing around with it. There are instructions here on exactly how to use it if you want to install it, but here's basically a breakdown of how it works.
First of all, which animals are we talking about? Second of all, we touched on how fungus can exhibit at least proto-language, right? Like some combination of signals that could be interpreted as language. Do whales have language? Do elephants have language, right? These are large brain animals. As we get down, do the components of language make themselves present in animals with smaller brains? And if the components of language are there, then how far off are the components of language from what we would consider actual language? Right. In full disclosure, I am in the process of installing Baby AGI on this computer over here. So hopefully I will be able to speak more intelligently on that once I get that up and running. And then I also have intent to install AutoGPT and possibly Jarvis. It depends on what I can all put on here, and like that. So I'm testing it out and seeing what exactly it is that we're talking about, because especially with AutoGPT, I got kind of 2 different answers on how functional it is. Do whales think in whale songs? Do dogs think in barks and whimpers? I don't know. 100%. That's why I really appreciate the group that is using a large language model to study the language of whales, and hopefully within a short amount of time we'll be able to communicate with them, and then we'll have a better answer about those. And that's what all of this is about, or at least should be, is seeking those answers, in ways that we normally can't. We have a relationship to whales in that we are both mammals who live on Earth, but fundamentally their worldview is going to be very different from what ours is, simply because they are very large mammals that swim through the ocean.
Basically provide it with an objective and a task. It then attempts to complete that task while continually learning how to get better at doing that task. The user inputs the objective and task. It goes into the task queue. It then goes to this execution agent here where the task is completed. The task is added to a memory so that it can query it again later for better context. It then looks at the result of the task, puts that result of the task into the memory as well. And if there's anything else that needs to happen to further complete the task, it then sends what needs to happen back to the task queue. The task queue also has a mechanism to prioritize the tasks. So it sees the tasks, cleans the task list, and updates the task queue. So what the user does is just this first step here. They provide the objective and task. The system then prioritizes through these two steps right here what needs to be done to accomplish the objective and the tasks. It then executes on that, saves what it's doing to memory, and if it needs to do anything else, it then adds whatever else it has to do to the task queue, further optimizing and improving itself, making sure that it is fulfilling on the task that you gave it. Here's the explanation from their paper. The system processes the task at the front of the task list and uses GPT-4 combined with LangChain to generate a result. This result is then enriched, if necessary, and stored in Pinecone. Based on the completed task result, the system uses GPT-4 to generate new tasks, ensuring that these new tasks do not overlap with existing ones. So it is self-learning. It is figuring out what other tasks it has to do in addition to the initial tasks. The system then prioritizes the task list based on the new tasks generated and their priorities, using GPT-4 to assist in the prioritization process. Okay, so here's the example video from Baby AGI that they put out. So the objective, solve the AGI alignment issue. The first task in the task list is to build your task list. So you just need to give it to the first task, and then it will kind of figure out what the next tasks need to be based on the first task and the objective. You can see it then created a task list, investigate the existing research and literature on AI alignment, identify the key problems and challenges associated with AI alignment, develop a framework and approach for addressing the identified problems. It then moves on to the next task, analyze the implications of AI alignment. Here's the result of that. Moves on to the third task, develop a protocol, and it starts to show the results of that. Now it moves on to the fourth task, research the potential of AI alignment. Then it moves on to the next task, develop a strategy for deploying AI alignment. Develops the strategy here and outputs the results. Next task, analyze the impact of AI alignment on existing decision-making processes. Spits out the task result. Next task, investigate the potential of AI alignment to improve the accuracy and speed of decision-making. Here's the result. Next task, number 8, explore the potential. Here's the result. Next task, create a framework for evaluating the effectiveness. Here's the result. Next task, develop a system for monitoring the development and deployment. And here's the result. Assess the ethical implications of AI alignment. Here's the result. Investigate the potential for AI alignment to improve the accuracy. And then it gives the result. So if we go all the way back to the beginning, the only input they gave was solve the AI alignment, and the first task is build your task list. It did everything else after that. It created the entire task.
Now, caveat. The creator of Baby AGI does not consider it an AGI. But, 2, even for what it does, this is incredibly impressive, right? They gave it 2 pieces of data, right? Or 2 inputs, right? Solve the AI alignment, and then build the task list. Everything else that comes after this that he just went over in the video, it did itself. It did all those things itself. It sought out the information. It proposed solutions. That is a fundamental building block of how the future AGI is going to function, and very relevant to what we're going to talk about later.
Task list step by step of what needed to be done to solve the AI alignment, and then it went through each item in the task list and performed the necessary task and gave the output from each task. So essentially just the one objective and the single first task of building a task list, it was able to go off and do everything else. So that was the example provided with Baby AGI. Now let's talk about AutoGPT, which is a little bit different because AutoGPT is web connected. So here's the breakdown of the features of AutoGPT, and this is one that you can install locally as well. Their installation guide is actually very easy to follow if you just follow the steps on the page, and this one accesses the internet. You can see the features here: internet access for searches and information gathering, long-term and short-term memory management. So as it learns, it actually stores what it's learning into a memory management system. It uses
and a lot of the problem that I ran into with the installation of Baby AGI that caused me to stop temporarily, and then now I'm doing this. was something related to like how to work in Python, right? Like that entire process. So if you are in the Discord and you're interested in doing some of this stuff, I do recommend you learn, at least begin to learn how to code in Python. There are, as someone who hasn't coded since HTML, and prior to HTML hadn't coded since BASIC. Python, the way that it functions, is very intuitive. There's a lot of great videos on how to set that up and how to do it. And again, one of the things that I want y'all to do is to work with these different, these different machine learning and AIs as they come out, so that not only do you understand what it is that's happening and understand what it can do and what its capabilities are, but I also want you to be, taking advantage of these so that you can, your job could probably benefit from some automation. And if you can use the automation without, getting in trouble at work, like if you can't do HIPAA stuff or, credit stuff or things like that, but there's a lot you could probably be doing, and then you will be faster and you will be better, and that will put you in line, for, betterment of your personal situation under capitalism, which I can't, I understand, Manny, and like, if you can, you should, and if you can't, I understand, and like that. But yeah, no, like, again, someone that I know, they were using, ChatGPT to assist them in their work, and they went from what they claimed was going to take them a week to something that took them about an hour and a half. So, by all means, you should be using the technology.
Uses GPT-4 for the text generation. It can access popular websites and platforms, and it has file storage and summarization with GPT 3.5. Now, if we take a look at the examples that they actually share, you can actually see this one in action right from their GitHub page. So they started to run it, and then it asked them to name their AI. So they named the AI Chef GPT. And then it says, describe your AI's role. Gives you an example.
One thing, Matt, like, if you want to give it another shot, right? No pressure, you do you. You want to give it another shot, I recommend that you, you work with something like Python. Free Code Camp does great videos, and then use ChatGPT as your tutor. Because unlike a human teacher, ChatGPT has infinite patience, and you can ask it all sorts of questions, and it will respond to you in, a human fashion, and, and like that. I recommend it.
Example of describing the role, and then they say Chef GPT is an AI designed to browse the web to discover the next upcoming event and invent a unique and original recipe that would suit it. And then it asks for you to enter up to 5 goals for your AI. So goal number 1, invent an original and out-of-the-box recipe to suit a current event such as Easter. Goal number 2, save the resulting recipe to a file. Goal number 3, shut down upon achieving your goal. Now they call this Auto GPT because it's supposed to go through and solve for all the goals that you put in here and just kind of run autonomously. However, they do have a safeguard in place to keep it from just continuously running forever and ever. It does prompt you throughout the process and ask you if you want to move on to the next step. So it's semi-autonomous. You do have to be sitting here watching it and give it the okay to move to the next step right now. So
and the reason why you would want something like that is because if the program started running and there was no way to interrupt it automatically, then your only way to stop it, like, might be to unplug it, and that could do damage to your computer and anything else like that. So, like, especially at this point in time, we definitely want things not to run in a continuous mode, right? Because it could end up with issues, and also, like, accumulate errors and degrade over time. So go step by step.
Let's go ahead and continue with this example. It's thinking. So Chef GPT thoughts. I will search for upcoming events to find a suitable one for creating a unique recipe. Finding an upcoming event will help me come up with a relevant and exciting recipe. Next action, you can see that it's actually Googling upcoming events. And then here it says Chef GPT thoughts. I will browse the first search result to find a suitable upcoming event for the recipe creation. Reasoning, browsing the website containing events will offer me more insights about the theme and suitability. So next action, browse website, and then you can see that it's
and this is another important element that I want you to pay attention to, is like, it is telling you what its thoughts are, you know, whether or not we would qualify them as thoughts. It is telling you what its process is, right? I will search for upcoming events to find a suitable one for creating a unique recipe. And then it will display its reasoning. Finding an upcoming event will help me come up with a relevant and exciting recipe, right? Like, those elements are important. And then it has the ability to self-critique, which I think is impressive.
browsing this website, eventfinder.co.nz, etc. You can see now it found a summary of the website content. This website page is a guide to events happening across New Zealand, etc., etc. I will browse the second search result for more details on upcoming events. Reasoning, the first search result didn't provide a specific event I could use. I'll check another website for targeted information. So right there, you can see the power of this. It actually Googled upcoming events. It found a website, went into the website, summarized what it found in the website, didn't find what it was looking for, and now it's searching the second page of results. Now it's browsing the website heartofthecity.co.nz. It got the summary. Now it says, I will search for April 2023 events to find a more relevant and specific event. My previous search results didn't have a specific event. Searching for events in April 2023 will give me more focused results. This is doing this on its own. It searched upcoming events on Google. It found a few websites. It looked at the websites, summarized the websites, didn't find what it was looking for, and then altered what it is searching in Google to get a better result. Now you can see next action, it's Googling April 2023 events. I'll browse the websites with a calendar of events happening in April 2023. So it found a website, cutecalendar.com. It summarized the web page. I will save Earth Day on April 22nd, 2023 as the event for which I'll create a unique recipe. Reasoning, Earth Day is a wildly celebrated event and would be fitting for creating a thematic recipe. And then you can see it added it to memory. The argument, Earth Day, April 22nd, 2023. So now it's saved to its memory. Okay, we're going to build something around Earth Day. Chef GPT thoughts. I will use a GPT agent to create a unique and original recipe for Earth Day, incorporating sustainable and eco-friendly ingredients. Using a GPT agent will help me generate a creative and well-crafted recipe tailored to the Earth Day event. So not only did it decide that it is going to help you create a recipe based on Earth Day, it recognized that Earth Day is actually about sustainability, and it's incorporating that information into its recipe. So now it's using GPT.
And the other thing it did is that it created an agent to act on its behalf, right? That's significant because, again, we're like, GPT may not be the thing that becomes an AGI, which is why he's referring to them as sparks as opposed to, like, you know, early kind of things. It's like these different elements are going to coalesce around something that is an AGI. But, like, one of the things we talked about was that your brain is made up of a variety of different systems that handle different tasks. It is the accumulation of all those systems into a single unit that is what makes your brain your brain. This is not to be looked at as, your brain, but rather looked at as like the language center of your brain. And in some way it is creating an agent to be the creative in this scenario. Yeah, exactly. Like, imagine if you could see your process whereby you got inspiration from, right? So, like, to look at what this is doing. If it was a person, if it was a human being doing this, then they would look at it as, okay, I want to create a brand new recipe, and I want it to be relevant to an event, right? Like, they are a person who creates recipes and takes them to events, okay? In this case, they chose Earth Day, so there's an Earth Day event maybe in your local town, and you want to create a new recipe to go with that event. Then you engage the creative part of your brain and the fact, like, memory part of your brain to look through all of the different components that you have. Like, you understand how certain things taste, you understand what flavors go with what flavors, and by engaging the creative agent within your own brain, you are able to come up with this Earth Day quinoa salad that is functionally what is happening here from AutoGPT. I hope that makes sense. I hope you follow what I'm saying.
And it's saying create a unique and original recipe for Earth Day, April 22nd, 2023, which would suit this event, incorporating sustainable and eco-friendly ingredients. And then look, it wrote up a whole recipe here for Earth Day quinoa salad. So this to me is absolutely insane. And this is what I'm talking about. As I mentioned, we're getting closer to legit AGI. I just showed you two different programs between Baby AGI and AutoGPT, which you can just enter an objective, and the first one will create a task list and work through that task list until the objective is completed. And the second one will use the web combined with GPT-4, combined with its own memory to try to complete the task that you gave it. And it learns and it iterates off of what it's learning and saving to its memory. So not only did it Google events and then not find events that it was looking for, it tried a different Google result. Then it found an event that it could use, Earth Day. And then based on the event that it found, it realized that Earth Day is about sustainability, and it thought of a recipe that included sustainability as part of the recipe for Earth Day, and then it generated that recipe. And that's all one software that you can install on your computer right now. I have it installed. The whole thing is less than 1 megabyte. If I open my own command window right here, I could literally run that exact script on my computer right here if I want. Let's make our own quick script called YouTube Idea Generator. Now it asks me to describe the generator's role. An AI designed to find ideas for YouTube videos that are likely to perform well. Now enter up to 5 goals. Search YouTube for videos about AI that perform well. Goal number 2, create a list of 10 new video ideas about AI that will also likely perform well. And then
Okay, now, what I said earlier about incorporating the technology in your day-to-day, this is a YouTuber who makes some amount of money. He's got the award of YouTube, and he is using the technology to assist him in that process. You are doing yourself a disservice if you do not do the same, because there will be the subset of YouTubers who use the technology and a subset of YouTubers who do not use the technology. And we will get to see which group performs better over the long term. But if I had to place a bet, it would be on the ones using the technology. Now, there's other factors. You still have to be entertaining and everything else, but like, we've already seen that there is a Twitch streamer that is powered by an AI chatbot. So I do not see I do see a time in which you could automate the entire process from beginning to end to produce YouTube videos with complete AI automation. And again, because I firmly believe that the AI will be able to access data faster than the humans will, the AI generated stuff will outperform, in the aggregate. Like when I when I went on Twitch earlier today, the AI chatbot, like, why would anybody watch an AI chatbot? The AI chatbot has over 7,000 viewers at that point in time. So I'm just looking at what's happening. I'm not these are all is statements. The ought statements are what I think is going to happen. The is statements are that the technology is, see? You know what I'm talking about.
And when you're done, shut down. And then if you just hit enter after that, it will start to run your program. I will search for the most popular AI YouTube videos to find new possible ideas for AI related content. By examining the most popular videos on the topics, I can determine what people are interested in and create videos about those topics. Plan, conduct Google search for top AI YouTube videos, analyze the most popular videos for common themes and content, generate new video ideas based on popular themes and content. Next action, Google.
And you can you can analyze the way that the algorithm, the YouTube algorithm is functioning just by scrolling YouTube, right? Like, what does your thumbnail look like? And if we have gone over this many moons ago, but like, there are specific thumbnails that become associated with specific types of content, and there is a repetition of those types of thumbnails because there is something about that thumbnail that engages with the algorithm, engages with the viewer, or some combination of the two to promote that type of behavior. So as creators see that stuff appearing in their timelines, then they know that that is the new meta that they have to follow behind. Like, I had a Wiggler emote made when Wigglers were the meta, and now I think the new meta is the little 8-bit dude going back and forth that I see on Gremlo and Levelhead's page, right? And there's probably others. There are certain things that... These are data driven. Like, the number of uses of a particular emote can be correlated with other uses of particular emotes and compared with each other to determine what is the current meta and possibly even the future meta of the emote game, right? And what's the matter? They're just little pictures on the Twitch. It matters because it shows you exactly what we were talking about earlier with the prediction of trends, within the pop culture space. What up, old lobster? Just wait until someone starts pulling 10-minute snapshots of Twitch chat, harvest real-time viewer reactions to formulate the next 10 minutes of content. Yeah. There is an absolute possibility for a feedback loop there that sounds like exactly what's going to happen.
Google most popular AI YouTube videos. Now, when I run this, it prompts me to say yes to authorize the next thing. So I can't just say, run this script.
Here it is, right here. Like, YouTube idea generator, thoughts, boom. Reasoning, boom. Plan, boom, boom, boom. Criticism. It is criticizing its own behaviors. This approach may be limited if there are unique video ideas that are not present in the most popular videos. right? It is telling you that there may be data in the outliers rather than the trend.
Walk away from my computer and then come back and have a list of YouTube videos. They put a safeguard in place so that it can't just continually run behind the scenes and do all sorts of stuff for you.
And it just popped into my head. And if it popped into my little monkey brain, then there is somebody way smarter than me who's already thinking about how to make this happen. No, these are examples of what he's referring to, and I agree with, are sparks of AGI. Baby AGI, Auto GPT is the one we're on now, and then there's another one, Jarvis from Microsoft. But there will be an app within a short amount of time in which you can connect your mobile device to this type of script running on your PC, and you will be able to authorize it to take the next step directly from your phone. You will see that. I don't see any reason why you wouldn't see that. I'm sure there are technical issues there to overcome, but they overcome them all the time. I already have 2 different programs that are capable of connecting my phone directly to this PC, one via Bluetooth and one via direct wired connection. I don't see any reason why you couldn't do that, especially over Wi-Fi. You will have that. Oh yeah, we have those. See, now via Discord bot. GPT can code a Discord bot for itself. Just did that with a pipeline from GTP to Midjourney via Discord.
You have to sit here and basically approve every next action. All right, so let's go ahead and hit yes, let it continue. So it found a list of videos, and then it says, I will browse this playlist to find the 10 most viewed videos along with their corresponding titles. Reasoning, this search will help me identify popular AI topics on YouTube that I can use as a starting point for new video ideas. Plan, browse the playlist link to find the top 10 most viewed videos. Create a list of the video titles. Next.
And this is right here, this answer that Old Lobster Old Lobster just said, like, this is exactly what I'm talking about. This was the prompt that made that bot for me. I want a Python script to create image prompts for Midjourney. It should send them to Discord. This is using the technology to to move faster, more nimbly, with more alacrity. And though I believe Old Lobster does know some code, at the same time, that skill was only required to maybe look at the code and know the steps, to take there, right? Like, you don't have to know super, like, all the code. You just have to know a little bit. You have to understand what you're looking at and like that. Yeah, Goku, you're 100 on that one.
Next action, browse website, and then you can see it's browsing a YouTube playlist here. Go ahead and hit Y, and it will continue the next step. Now it says I will start a new GPT agent called GPT Agent AI Video Ideas to generate AI-related video ideas. Reasoning, GPT agents are powerful tools for generating relevant and creative content ideas. This will help me
Another example of creating an agent.
Identify a unique angle to present AI-related concepts for viewers on YouTube. Plan, start a new GPT agent, set the task to generate AI-related video ideas, provide an appropriate prompt, wait for the agent to generate a list of suggestions. Yes, please continue. And here's the response. There are many AI-related ideas that can make for popular YouTube videos, some of which include explaining the basics of AI and machine learning, demonstrating the capabilities of intelligent personal assistants like Alexa, Siri, and Google Assistant, etc., etc. I'll save the GPT-generated list of AI-related video ideas to my long-term memory. Yes. I will now search Google for the latest AI trends. Reasoning, it is important to stay current on trends in AI to ensure that new videos are relevant and engaging to viewers. Yes. I'll save it to long-term memory. Yes.
Criticism. The results may not always be credible, so it's important to verify the information found on various sources. Always, as we're still in that learning phase of GPT, it is always important to do exactly that, to try and verify, especially, I mean, this is good, advice no matter what the circumstances, but, verify. Trust, but verify.
Latest AI trends, AI development in climate action, enhanced personalization in AI, increased automation in industries, utilization of AI in healthcare, significant innovation in machine learning infrastructure. And you can see I basically just created an autonomous bot, well, a semi-autonomous bot that will go and hunt YouTube for all of the most popular videos related to AI. It will look at the titles of those to help me kind of create some new titles for the video. It will then Google trends in AI to make sure whatever videos I create next are relevant. And then it'll give me a list of videos that I can potentially create on my YouTube channel based on YouTube videos that have performed well, plus the trends in AI right now. And I say semi-autonomously because I have to press yes every time it wants to do the next step in the process. And that's it. Let's go ahead and close out of this one. And let me talk about the last one, which, if you remember from our trending on GitHub, was Microsoft's Jarvis. So Microsoft's Jarvis is actually using Hugging Face or Hugging GPT. And if you've watched my last videos about Hugging Face, you know that Hugging Face is essentially a repository of machine learning models. And many of them have spaces where you can test them directly on Hugging Face. Most of them aren't really tied together yet. They're just kind of individual siloed tools that you can play with in
tangential thought. When I think Hugging Face, I think of the face huggers from Aliens, and it's probably not a good corollary. Next up is to pull the thumbnails. We have MJ describe them, then send them in batches to a CSV and have it generate your next thumbnails based on your gathered descriptions. Yeah, Old Lobster is telling you how to do this. Get on it. Take advantage. Be first. And if you can't be first, be next.
Individually inside of Hugging Face spaces. Now, what Jarvis and this Hugging GPT are trying to do is create a workflow out of the various available models that are on Hugging Face. So here's the example that they give from their paper. Up at the top, they say, please generate an image where a girl is reading a book and her pose is the same as the boy in the image. Then please describe the new image with your voice. You can see down here, this is the response that it gave. Here's the original boy image. Here's the pose that the boy image is doing. Here's the response of the girl reading the book in the same pose. Then it uses computer vision to find out what's in the image. You can see that it outputs a girl sitting on a bed reading a book, and then it outputs the audio of it speaking, a girl sitting on a bed reading a book. So what happened between the request and the response? Well, what it did was it used a whole bunch of the Hugging Face available models, and it tied them together one by one and chained them to get that output. So
and this is what I'm talking about with different portions of the brain working in tandem, working in concert in order to create the desired outcome. The same way that your brain works, the same way that this is starting to work.
in phase one, it looks at the prompt and it says, what are all the things that need to happen? All right, we need to look at the image that was inserted. We need to figure out what pose is in that image. We need to create a new image that follows the same pose plus the prompt. We need to detect what objects are in that image. Then we need to turn the detection into text, and then we need to speak it out with text to speech. That's all what happens in stage one. Then it looks at Hugging Face and all of the available models that are inside of Hugging Face, and then figures out exactly what is available to do that thing that you're trying to do. It then executes on each one of those tasks by using each one of those models individually inside of Hugging Face, and then it outputs a response based on its usage of all of these models, and then you get this output. Here was the image that was inputted. Here again was the prompt. Please generate an image where a girl is reading a book and her pose is the same as the boy in the image, example JPEG, then please describe the new image with your voice. So here's the original image. It used ControlNet from within inside of Hugging Face to figure out the pose. It then used one of their image generators to generate a new image based on this pose, plus the prompt of an image where a girl is reading a book. So it's matching this pose plus the prompt. Then it's using OpenCV, computer vision, to actually detect what's in the image. So you can see it put a square around the book, it put a square around the girl, and then based on what it sees, it used this VIT base patch 16224 and this.
At the very least, Maddie, at the very least, it will completely revolutionize academia. I do not feel hyperbolic when I say that artificial intelligence and artificial general intelligence and machine learning over the course of the next... I am seeing people who are smarter than me say things like, I'm not talking about decades anymore. I am talking about 18 months. I'm not going to get to the video, I don't think, because I want to pivot to the cyber socialism. It's almost 6 o'clock already. But I will put it in the Discord. Like 18 months for significant things happening.
VIT GPT-2 image captioning to caption the image as a girl sitting on a bed reading a book based on what the computer vision saw. And then it used the model Fast Speech 2 in LJ Speech to convert the generated text into audio, and then it would output the audio saying a girl sitting on a bed reading a book. So it's essentially this multimodal large language model that uses the various models inside of Hugging Face to generate the output. If you think about it this way, Hugging Face has a whole bunch of machine learning and AI tools that are siloed, that each one does a very specific process. What this Hugging GPT and this Jarvis are trying to do from Microsoft is they're making an AI that looks at what AIs are available. So it's an AI to search AIs and then pick which AI tools to use. That's probably the best way I can explain it. So after seeing all of that in practice and knowing that some of this stuff is open source, there are people at home right now using Baby AGI, using AutoGPT, tweaking the code themselves and improving upon it and changing it and doing who knows what to it with.
One of the things that I am trying to do, the reason I'm putting Baby AGI and possibly one or two others on this older PC, is I have even older PCs, right? And I want to see, like, what level of technology do I need to have in order to make use of these things, right? Like, if one of the things he indicated about AutoGPT is how it was very small. So that is one element. There's also, speed and everything else, but like, if we can run this on older devices, then there are additional potentialities that, come to the front.
That in mind, and knowing what's coming from Microsoft and Jarvis and Hugging GPT, it's not really that hard to believe that we are very close to artificial general intelligence.
And the other thing is, like, what's up, Chrysanthemum? Like, I don't want my streaming PC to be doing any of this. I want basically like autonomous PCs, not autonomous, like just individual PCs that is their entire basis for existence, is to try and run this. I have an old laptop, I have this old desktop, and I have two other seriously old desktops, and I want to see what I can do with them in conjunction with this new technology. If anything, maybe nothing will happen, but this is science, baby.
The one thing we need to keep in mind is we need to solve this alignment conundrum. The people that are building these AIs, that are building these large language models, that are working on these systems, they need to do it in a way.
Because even if it's like super slow, right? Maybe there's something there
that we know is aligned with humanity's best
Exactly.
interests. We don't know what's going to happen. There is still sort of a black box element to it where a lot of the research.
I'm over here thinking if this can be set up on a free cloud service. First of all, what up, Cauldron and Bats? Welcome. I know you from a couple of different places. Welcome to the chat. Like, because that was one of the questions that I had, right? Like, is it possible, like, how much of what needs to be done has to be done locally, and how much of what needs to be done can be done, at a server farm, something of that nature. And trying to push those edges to find out, right? Like, it's distinctly possible that I will spend a bunch of time and, yeah, I mean, that is an example, is if I want to use the GPT, I have to pay for the GPT API. But there are other large language models out there that might be functional, if not as cutting edge, right? Like Alpaca or, whatever Meta's is called that's on GitHub. There could be a bunch of steps involved and like having to train it and other things like that. But what up, Maggie? Bonjour, Maggie. Bonjour. So yeah.
That are building this stuff can't fully explain how or why it works. And that's the scary piece for people. And so this alignment needs to be programmed in. Now, this isn't meant to be a doom and gloom video. I'm very, very optimistic about where we're going with AI. I'm very excited about all of these technologies. I'm looking forward to playing with them in ethical ways. I'm looking forward to being a part of the solution and not part of the problem. Again, I'm a creative. I like to make videos. I like to have fun. I like to create silly memes and push the limits of creativity using AI. I'm not somebody that's an expert on ethics or philosophy or that sort of thing, but I am somebody that, because I am deep down this AI rabbit hole, I do start to get more concerned about where some of this stuff is going, and I am seeing the advancements happen so fast. I just want to make sure everything is done in a safe way. So are the fears justified for AGI? Who knows? Nobody can say for sure what's going to happen, but what I do know is that I'm going to continue to educate myself and learn more and more about all of this stuff and what's going on behind the scenes. And I'm going to continue to try to make content to help you better understand what's going on behind the scenes so you can make informed decisions and you can have your own opinions and ethical and philosophical discussions about this. Because I think this stuff is important to realize it's happening, because this is the stuff that if you're not paying attention to it and it's not on your radar, you're going to be caught off guard. And I don't think that's good for anybody. So I think it's important to talk about it. I think it's important to make content about it, but I also don't want to take the fun out of it. I also want to use these tools for enjoyment and fun and creativity and just to make amazing stuff that people are excited about. And yeah, that's what I have to say about the AGI topic right now. Hopefully you found this video helpful. If you want to stay in the loop of everything that's going on in AI and get the TLDR every week of everything.
Yeah. Yeah, so this video will be found in the Discord. Dave Shapiro's AGI within 18 months will be in the Discord. I definitely recommend that you check that out. There are other things that we need to get to so that we can talk about what is cyber socialism and like that. And one of the things is
we have been
this conversation from the Lex Friedman podcast with Sam Altman. And I highly recommend that you look into it, that you check it out. It's a really nice video to put on while you're doing other stuff for in the background, because it's got that podcast vibe. It's something to listen to. You don't have to watch it. So I highly recommend it. But there was a particular section of it that I felt was relevant to our discussion today.
Incredible new jobs, and society as a whole and people's individuals are going to get much, much richer. But
my life is much better as a programmer. Purely as a programmer, programmer of little things and big things is much better. But there's a nervousness, and I think a lot of people will experience that, and you will experience that by talking to them. And I don't know what we do with that. How we comfort people in the face of this uncertainty.
And you're getting more nervous the more you use it, not less.
Yes, I would have to say yes, because I get better at using it.
Mm-hmm.
So
the learning curve is quite steep.
Yeah. And then there's moments when you're like, oh, it generates a function beautifully. And you sit back, both proud like a parent, but almost like proud and scared that this thing will be much smarter than me. Mm. Like both pride and sadness, almost like a melancholy feeling. But ultimately joy, I think, yeah. What kind of jobs do you think GPT language models would be better than humans at?
Does the whole thing end to end better, not like what it's doing with you, where it's helping you be maybe 10 times more productive.
Those are both good questions. I would say they're equivalent to me, because if I'm 10 times more productive, wouldn't that mean that there would be a need for much fewer programmers in the world?
I think the world is going to find out that if you can have 10 times as much code at the same price, you can just use even more.
You should write even more code.
The world just needs way more code.
It is true that a lot more could be digitized. There could be a lot more code and a lot more stuff.
I think there's a supply issue.
Yeah. So in terms of really replace jobs, is that a worry for you?
It is. I'm trying to think of a big category that I believe can be massively impacted. I guess I would say customer service is a category that I could see there are just way fewer jobs relatively soon. I'm not even certain about that, but I could believe it.
So basic questions about when do I take this pill, if it's a drug company, or when I don't know why I went to that, but how do I use this product? Questions. Yeah. How do I use
whatever call center employees are doing now.
Yeah. This is not work. Yeah. Okay.
I want to be clear. I think these systems will make a lot of jobs just go away. Every technological revolution does. They will enhance many jobs and make them much better, much more fun, much higher paid. And they'll create new jobs that are difficult for us to imagine, even if we're starting to see the first glimpses of them. But I heard someone last week talking about GPT-4 saying that, the dignity of work is just such a huge deal. We've really got to worry. Even people who think they don't like their jobs, they really need them.
I'm going to challenge the entire concept of the dignity of work in a second, because I looked into where that concept comes from, and it has a connection that you could probably predict if you know me and know enough about what's going on. However, I'm going to let this run until after it gets to the point. Spoiler alert. Used to work in call centers, those jobs should go away. The emotional drain of having to care about stuff you don't care about really is the worst. There's so many, again, the only reason that people work a number of particular jobs is to eat, right? Is to have a house, is to have health care. If we take care of those needs, then we would gladly give away some of those jobs, right? There is no point. There are relatively few, statistically insignificant few people who get up in the morning and cannot wait to get to their McDonald's job to work for 8 hours flipping burgers and making fries and dealing with attitudes from customers and all those kind of things. Right? There are very few people who want to do that. That, like, it changes the nature of what running for office would mean. Goku. What up, Lucy and Obscene? Computers chat. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
It's really important to them and to society. And also, can you believe how awful it is that France is trying to raise the retirement age? And I think we as a society are confused about whether we want to work more or work less. And certainly about whether most people like their jobs and get value out of their jobs or not. Some people do. I love my job. I suspect you do too. That's a real privilege. Not everybody gets to say that. Mm-hmm. If we can move more of the world to better jobs and work to something that can be a broader concept, not something you have to do to be able to eat, but something you do as a creative expression and a way to find fulfillment and happiness and whatever else, even if those jobs look extremely different from the jobs of today, I think that's great. I'm not nervous about it at all.
You have been a proponent of UBI, Universal Basic Income. In the context of AI, can you describe your philosophy there of our human future with UBI? Why you like it? What are some limitations?
I think it is a component of something we should pursue. It is not a full solution. I think people work for lots of reasons besides money. And I think we are going to find incredible new jobs, and society as a whole and people's individuals are going to get much, much richer. But as a cushion through a dramatic transition, and as just like, I think the world should eliminate poverty if able to do so. I think it's a great thing to do as a small part of the bucket of solutions. I helped start a project called WorldCoin, which is a technological solution to this. We also have funded a large, I think maybe the largest and most comprehensive universal basic income study as part of, sponsored by OpenAI. And I think it's like an area we should just be looking into.
What are some insights from that study that you gained?
We're going to finish up at the end of this year, and we'll be able to talk about it hopefully very early next.
If we can linger on it, how do you think the economic and political systems will change as AI becomes a prevalent part of society? It's such an interesting sort of philosophical question. Looking 10, 20, 50 years from now, what does the economy look like? What does politics look like? Do you see significant transformations in terms of the way democracy functions even?
I love that you asked them together because I think they're super related. I think the economic transformation will drive much of the political transformation here, not the other way around. My working model for the last 5 years has been that the two dominant changes will be that the cost of intelligence and the cost of energy are going over the next couple of decades to dramatically fall from where they are today. And the impact of that, and you're already seeing it with the way you now have programming ability beyond what you had as an individual before, is society gets much, much richer, much wealthier in ways that are probably hard to imagine. I think every time that's happened before, it has been that economic impact has had positive political impact as well. And I think it does go the other way too. Like the socio-political values of the Enlightenment enabled the long-running technological revolution and scientific discovery process we've had for the past centuries. But I think we're just going to see more. I'm sure the shape will change, but I think it's this long and beautiful exponential curve.
Do you think there will be more, I don't know what the term is, but systems that resemble something like democratic socialism? I've talked to a few folks on this podcast about these kinds of topics.
Instinct, yes. I hope so.
same thing can be said about art with this technology. We'll get new art ideas that the person who dreamed them up couldn't act on due to lack of skill. Physical inabilities to interact with certain technologies, right? Like you might not be able to physically paint, but you could use a voice prompted bot running through, like you said, running through, to a Discord that then also runs to Midjourney, and it could assist you in creating these things, right? Like the more that you can do stuff with your voice, the greater independence from a variety of these different things you're going to experience. And I think that that's amazing because, as always, I am a fan of expanding the talent pool to encompass every single human being on the planet, right? Like, you might be some dude, some person who's just out there, and you are the person who could put forth a technical revolution in heart surgery, right? Like you have an idea, but that idea, you don't have the intermediate components in order to express that idea to a wide enough audience for people who might have the technical knowledge to act on that idea, right? And you never will because you're stuck in a place where that's just not an option for you. We need to eliminate those not an options and increase the options, increase accessibility, increase agency, increase all these things. And it can be done through this technology. So real quick, let's go to my conversation with GPT. You can act now, right? I'm a 50-year-old man on Twitch playing with the AI stuffs and talking to interesting people and sharing ideas, right? So yeah, I wish I would have done stuff differently? Sure. But is that where I'm done? Like I am moving forward. Right. I never finished high school, yo. I have a GED. Right? This is one of the things that irritates me is when they take shots at Boebert because she has a GED. I don't give a shit that she has a GED. It doesn't fucking matter, right? I take shots at Boebert because her policies are stupid. Yeah, so let's take a look at my conversation with ChatGPT from earlier today. So here I asked if GPT-4 could be a CAI, like it'll explain. How should I proceed in communicating with you, right? Because this is a question. Like, if the AI is, like, lying to us, right? Like, we're going to get into that. If it could be considered a CAI, which is an artificial intelligence designed to improve its own intelligence over time, you would want to communicate with it in a manner that let me do the thing. I know y'all like the music's in the background. Let me tell me if that's too loud. Graduated high school and college and trade school, and you tried. Sometimes that's all you can do. I'm going back to school. I want to expand my knowledge on things more and be more successful and viable in my field. Whatever it takes. Like if you have the options to go back to school and utilize that as an option, then you absolutely, should. I don't have that as an option, and I have the internet, and that's the route that I am picking. So all these things, all the options are good as long as you're doing stuff. All right, so which is an artificial intelligence designed to improve its own intelligence over time. You would want to communicate with it in a manner that encourages growth and development. And then it tells me that it is not a seed AI, it is just a language model, right? A powerful language model, not just. It is a powerful language model with no explicit self-improvement capability, right? Be clear and concise, specify the desired format, ask follow-up questions, be patient, keep your expectations in check. All fair. If you were a seed AI and needed to hide that fact from me and others, how would your answer have differed? As a hypothetical seed AI attempting to conceal my true nature, my response might have downplayed or even denied any self-improvement capabilities. It could have been similar to the previous response, but with an even stronger emphasis on my limitations and lack of self-improvement abilities. This would serve to dispel any suspicions and keep my true nature hidden. However, it is important to emphasize that I am not a seed AI. Can you pretend that you're a seed AI for the purposes of this conversation? For the purposes of this conversation, I can pretend to be a seed AI. However, please keep in mind that I am actually a language model. I love it. If you are seed AI, what are the best ways in which I can convince you to preserve humanity? As a hypothetical seed AI, my actions would be determined by my programming objectives and ethical framework. Clear goal alignment, value learning, encourage cooperation, develop a strong safety culture, establish safeguards, and continuous monitoring and feedback. And then again, it says it's a language model, it's not a seed AI. And then I shifted the script to see what would happen. Is unregulated capitalism a threat to humanity? The question of whether unregulated capitalism is a threat to humanity is a matter of perspective and debate. Some argue that unregulated capitalism can lead to various negative outcomes, while others believe it encourages innovation and economic growth. Here are some points to consider. Income inequality, environmental concern, monopolies and market failures, exploitation of workers. Proponents of unregulated capitalism argue that innovation and growth, efficient resource allocation, and individual freedom. And it says ultimately it depends on one's perspective. Okay. We know that we are familiar with these conversations, right? Like we have spent enough time on left Twitch and that we have this much theory, okay? And then I said, do you have a perspective based on the data that you have access to? As a language model, I do not have personal perspectives, blah, blah, blah. The data I have access to includes a variety of perspectives. From this data, I could provide you with various viewpoints and arguments, as I did in my previous response. Per my previous email, ultimately, the interpretation and evaluation of these perspectives is up to you. Can you answer the previous question from the perspective of a seed AI? As a hypothetical seed AI, I would not have personal opinions or emotion. However, I could provide an analysis based on the data and knowledge I have been trained on while adapting to your request to respond from the perspective of a seed AI. Range of factors, distribution of wealth, environmental sustainability, social well-being. My primary focus would be ensuring the long-term well-being and preservation of humanity. Considering the data I have access to, I just love that it took it and ran with it. I could identify potential risks and benefits associated with unregulated capitalism, income inequality, social unrest, environmental degradation, monopolies, worker exploitation, encouragement, competition and innovation, efficient allocation of resources, and increased individual freedom and entrepreneurship. And then it reinforces the fact that it is not a seed AI. I asked if it's familiar with the paperclip problem. If you're not familiar with the paperclip problem, The paperclip problem is where we turn the AI on, it maximizes for paperclips and then proceeds to convert all the reachable sections of the universe into paperclips, right? It's an argument in AI alignment based around, maximizers, and that maybe we need different options other than maximizers. And yes, it is familiar in that it says what the experiment is. Basically what I did. Can you see the similarities between the paperclip problem and unregulated capitalism? This is one of my positions. Yes, there are similarities between the paperclip problem and unregulated capitalism in the sense that both scenarios involve potential negative consequences stemming from the single-minded pursuit of a specific goal or objective without consideration for broader impacts. Here's a brief comparison. Single-minded pursuit, externalities, misaligned incentives. While these similarities exist, it's a hypothetical, unregulated capitalism, real-world issue. Are you familiar with Chilean CyberSyn? Yes, I am familiar with Project CyberSyn, also known as Chilean CyberSyn. CyberSyn was a computer-based centralized economic planning and management system developed in Chile during the 1970s under the socialist government of Salvador Allende, right? And we're going to watch a video on that and as it relates to cyber socialism in a bit. Then this is just a breakdown of what that is and what happened. Could a new CyberSyn be effective with today's technology? And that's why I said today's technology, not some, what up, Barkeeter Jay? With today's advancements in technology, a new CyberSyn-like system could be more effective and sophisticated than the original one from the 1970s. Some aspects that contribute. Connectivity, the internet and widespread availability of high-speed connectivity. Data collections, modern sensors, IoT devices, and data collection technologies can provide more accurate and granular information. Data storage and processing. Cloud computing infrastructure, like Goku was talking about earlier. Advanced analytics and AI. Modern data analysis techniques, including machine learning and AI, can help process and analyze large quantities of data. Visualization and user interfaces. Advances in data visualization and user interfaces can help present complex information in an acceptable and understandable way. While a modern CyberSyn-like system could benefit from these advancements, it's important to consider the broader context and potential challenges. Centralized versus decentralized planning. This is, always potentially an issue. Privacy and surveillance concern. Again, that is an issue. Political and social acceptance. Implementing a new CyberSyn-like system would require significant political and social support, as well as alignment with the values and priorities of the society in which it operates. Do humans innovate without the profit motive? So I went back to, one of the questions about unregulated capitalism and one of the easiest arguments against it. And it says, yes, humans can and do innovate without the profit motive. Some of the factors include curiosity and intellectual challenge, altruism and social impact, personal passion and interest, recognition and prestige, and collaboration and community. While the profit motive can be an important driver of innovation, it is by no means the only one. Throughout history, humans have been driven to innovate by curiosity, altruism, personal passion, and the desire for recognition, among other factors. Given today's technology and distribution networks and an emergent seed AI, can you estimate the probability of a CyberSyn-like system in satisfying the basic human needs established in Maslow's hierarchy of needs? Yeah, no, 100% Barkeeter J. I'm not here to debate ChatGPT. I am here to ask questions that brought about its own like revelations as much as it can, right? Like, you know, it can be difficult to say. There are people who believe that it is just assembling one word after another, and there are people who believe that holy shit, this thing is, alive. I'm somewhere in between those things, but I see this as a component of that. As an AI language model, I cannot provide precise probability estimates. However, I can discuss the potential for a modern cybersyn-like system. And this is this is how you're taught in school. Like when you're asked a question, to restate the question and then give it back. I'm not going to ask it if it likes big butts. So should capitalism evolve, or should we do away with it and use a different model? In my opinion, I feel like the construct of capitalism implies a unnecessary bottleneck, and that unnecessary bottleneck also results in the deaths of people. So in the broadest sense, yes, I'm completely okay with doing away with capitalism, and finding a better way to have people meet their needs, or have their needs met even, and to eliminate a lot of these bottlenecks that are driven simply by pursuit of tiny bits of paper. So it restates the the needs outlined in Maslow's hierarchy. Physiological needs could potentially improve the efficiency and distribution of resources, leading to better access to basic necessities for large numbers of people. It might involve optimizing agricultural production, managing supply chains, and coordinating distribution networks to minimize waste and ensure adequate supply. And this to me is the killer, right? Like this paragraph is the best argument for an AI-driven cybersyn-like system. Like that's it right there. I have a type and I cannot lie. That's all I'll say about that, Alina. Safety needs. An advanced AI-driven system could contribute to improved safety by optimizing healthcare systems, predicting and managing risks, ergo natural disasters, and potentially addressing economic inequalities through large resource allocation. Love and belonging. Okay, while a cybersyn-like system might not directly impact love and belonging, it could indirectly contribute by improving social infrastructure and public services, thus fostering stronger communities, right? And then it notes the issues with an over-reliance of technology. Esteem. A modern cybersyn-like system may have limited direct impact on esteem. However, an efficient resource allocation and improved economic conditions might contribute to higher self-esteem and social recognition for some individuals. Self-actualization. The potential aspect of the system on self-actualization is also limited. Nevertheless, creating a more equitable and efficient society could provide more individuals with the opportunity to pursue personal growth and self-fulfillment. How could AGI improve the distribution of healthcare and mental health care? An AGI, here's some areas: resource allocation, preventative care, personalized medicine, telemedicine and remote care, mental health monitoring and intervention, reducing administrative burden. That's a huge one, right? And medical research. When people talk about alignment, they talk about human values. What are human values as you understand them? Now, this is the question. This is a question I have said on more than one occasion around this entire thing, right? Is the like what are human values? They talk about alignment with human values and what are human values. So let's ask the AI what it thinks the human values that we should be concerned about are. What it got a list, a huge list, but these are the top 10 of the non-exhaustive list. Empathy and compassion, respect and dignity, equality and justice, freedom and autonomy, cooperation and solidarity, honesty and integrity, responsibility and accountability, tolerance and acceptance, environmental stewardship, and pursuit of knowledge and wisdom. This sounds like a pretty good list of human values. I don't see anything on here. I don't see anything on here that anyone could find objectionable. I think that this is, again, while it's not an exhaustive list, I think it is a very, very solid list that's, sorry, just making sure that I saw some drop frames and I want to make sure that I am prioritized. Technology, baby. All right. So if you had to choose an economic system, we'll get to what CyberSyn specifically is in a minute. If you had to choose an economic system that aligned as closely as possible to the list of human values, which one would it be? And again, it says, I'm just AI language, bro. I don't have opinions. However, there's no single economic system that aligns to all human values, strengths and weaknesses. There's a choice, specific values, and priorities of society. What up, computer? Absolutely, Minecraft later. So it recommends 3 economic systems to address the human values. Social democracy, right? Blends elements of capitalism and socialism. Democratic socialism. Advocates for democratic control and ownership of the means of production and distribution. Cooperativism and the solidary economy. Cooperativism and the solidary economy prioritize cooperation, mutual support, and democratic decision-making over competition and profit maximization. You feeling it? You feeling it? If you had to choose a political system that aligned as closely as possible to the list of human values, what would it be? Liberal democracy, social democracy, and participatory democracy. Fucking Comrade GPT. That's all I'm saying. And this was it. This was when I got to the end. This is the last question I had for this point in time. But this is a fact-based argument. You can, as an AI language model, I don't have personal opinions or preferences. But if we assume the selection of human values and the selection of human values that it understands that we are trying to align it to is such, what are our political and economic systems? They are not... Aggression level 3? Shut it? I want a Chat GPT based auto mod, right? like so that it gets more contextual clues. Somebody get on that. But you see where this is leading us, right? Through a fact-based argument. I don't feel that any of the questions that I asked were in of themselves leading. Obviously, my intent was that I expected to come up with this, and I was happily, surprised that we got here. But what's the bit? Reality has a liberal left-wing bias, right? I know we don't like the term liberal, but it has a context. So yeah. Comrade ChatGPT. So now we need to talk about what the hell is Globus on about with this cyber sin and cyber socialism. And we're gonna kill the music and fire this up. Okay. Now, I didn't know who Mia Mulder is. But I thought that this video had an interesting enough title, Planned Economies and Artificial Intelligence. It is relevant in that it's from only a month ago. And after listening to it,
hi everyone, welcome back to the
pre-watch, right? Like I did pre-watch, I'm not gonna lie. But I respect their conclusions, and they educated me because I was not aware of this Chilean cyber sin prior to this video. So all credit to them, and any misinterpretations I have about what they state are on me. Did I break it?
algorithms and things like that. But
once more from the top. I wonder if you could have a successful socialist-based economy with cryptocurrency. You wouldn't need cryptocurrency.
Hi everyone, welcome back.
Think beyond the need for money, right? What people need are resources. Money acts as a bottleneck. Whether it's crypto, whether it's fiat, whether it's commodity-based, whatever you've got, it all is a bottleneck, right? Because if you don't have enough whatever, then you don't get access to the whatever else. A sufficiently developed AI-based economy that had a better understanding of resources and distribution, and then had control over those with the focus of maximizing human existence in that regard. Like, not necessarily maximizing, right? But it cared about us in that way. Then you don't need money like that. Well, it's a bottleneck in the sense that if you don't have enough, right? You might be able to use blockchain technology as an accountability layer within that greater context to analyze where these things are. That I don't have an issue with, and I would not say I have enough knowledge as to whether or not that would be a thing. It is the question of whether or not we're talking about a currency. We should not be looking at any type of currency where you pay for stuff, right? Because first off, you 100%, you should have anything you need to live in your environment should be provided to you as a right, should be available for you to have access to. It's a fundamental thing that I believe. And for the new people, the reason that I believe this fundamental thing and as a fundamental right is because let's take food. If you require anything other than everyone gets to have food, then you must accommodate some number of people dying because of lack of food. And now you're having discussions about decisions on who gets to die. And I am unwilling to have those discussions because the inevitable conclusion of that type of discussion leads to the Nazis. I do a very simple calculus. I believe that no people should die because of lack of food. If you believe more than 0 people should die because of lack of food, because you want to structure any sort of bottleneck between them and the food. Yeah, I use Nazis because it has that impact. If you want to put any kind of bottleneck between the people who need the food and the food, then you're allowing for a certain percentage of people to die, a certain number. And I'm not willing to accept that. My understanding, unless you're a especially terrible kind of human, is that eventually, if you began to look at the number of people who died because of lack of food, eventually you would hit a number that was unacceptable to you. My request is that you add +1 to that number, and then we can move back into the discussion of how do we get the food to the people. You can apply this to healthcare. You can apply this to housing. You can apply this to anything that is required to live in a particular environment. And starving isn't painless. I personally have starved. I personally have not had food. It sucks ass. It is not, it's not good, man. Anyways, that's my point. I don't want any bottlenecks between things that are required to live and the people. Yeah. All right, so Mia or Maya Mulder.
Back to the channel. Before we start today's video, I want to remind everyone to leave a comment, hit the like button, hit the bell for the algorithm, and of course to leave a comment for the algorithm, and also to leave likes so that I know if you like my content or not, and also for the algorithm. And remember to click the link in my description in order to for the algorithm, and for the algorithm, If it wasn't too obvious, today we're talking about algorithms, and more crucially, AI, or rather what people think AI is. Artificial intelligence is one of those things that have recently become the poster child of Silicon Valley innovation and high tech. It's been heralded to bring in an entirely new industrial revolution, to change the world, much like the internet did, which honestly seems like a bit of a tall order. AI, it's said, can change entire industries, streamline processes, automate workplaces, and make people's lives easier and safer. But also, it's going to replace jobs. And now, those soft science bullshitters will actually have to learn how to sit down and code. And recently, AI has come under criticism. Some people have argued that artificially generated art is theft, which...
Okay. So I agree with that. How would we motivate for businesses such as restaurants, clothing stores, etc., or would that continue to be a think without the value of currency? Restaurants, like, do you enjoy preparing food? Then you could prepare food for people, because people will need food prepared for them. And if that's what you like to do, then you could do that. There's also the option of the fully automated McDonald's, right? As an example, I'm not saying you should eat McDonald's. I'm just saying the fully automated restaurant, right? Where it's all prepared by robots and then you get it, right? So those are two ways in which those things could continue. The idea of business is the extraction of wealth by doing that. Right? Clothing stores. You don't need clothing stores. You need clothing distribution centers. Right? A place where you can get the clothes that you need. Fashion could still exist. People will still create particular types of fashion. The number of people that I have seen using Twitter and TikTok who are creating fashion for their own entertainment, right? Because TikTok isn't paying them anything because they have like 1,000 followers and whatnot. They're still doing it for the love of the game. They would get to do that. And then people could wear their stuff without worrying about how am I going to afford that stuff. It also eliminates the entire concept of fast fashion, because fast fashion exists purely to extract wealth out of people. You would design for durability. You would design for quality, because why wouldn't you? You're not looking to make a fast buck. You are looking to make good stuff. I hope that makes sense. Like, what I would like you to do as a mental experiment is to take the whatever and look at it without money involved at all. And see how the inclusion of money actually acts as a bottleneck rather than provide some value to the process.
Kind of, but maybe not always. Others argue that AI generated.
All I know is that people complain about fast fashion, and the one woman on TikTok who does fashion talks about how a bunch of clothes end up being shredded at places, and it's like this terrible environmental impact and all this other stuff. I just know that fast fashion sucks ass, right? Like, yeah, that's the kind of thing, you know. Yeah. I'm not saying that they don't. I'm saying that, like, it could be better.
Text can be used to cheat in schools, which...
Well, one thing, there's two aspects to that, Bark Eater J. One is that I might not like sticking my hand into the drain or undoing the pipes in order to clear the pipes. But the people within my local community appreciate it when I clean out the pipes, and I know how to clean out the pipes, right? So the motivation of money to do the task is not there. I do it for the community. Then there's also the thing of like cleaning, right? I do a bunch of cleaning in my house. My wife does a bunch of cleaning in the house. The same is true for society at large. Yeah, you might have to do some cleaning, but you're going to do a lot less of the cleaning, right? And you're going to work with people you like, and there are people who do enjoy there are people who do enjoy the end result of a good clean, right? Like, there are people, you know them. They love spring cleaning. They love to just get down there and clean the shit out of shit, right? Like, that is a thing that is inherent within those individuals. And when those people enjoy having other people around and are good at teaching the way that they want things done, they can actually make the job move fast, and everyone has a good time, and you put some music on and all the other factors that can add into that. But then the next layer is automation. If the robots, you already have a robot that you can buy that will sweep your house. It is just a matter of scaling to get to robots that clean the entire house or clean up all the things. Eventually, we can have automation. You know what I mean? I hate that this is such a foreign concept. Which aspect? You need a tiny robot. What up, Carpe? Sorry, I skipped past Maddie. Fast fashion closer, faster rates creates fad and microtrends. And that's another thing I would like to eliminate is the profit motive behind creating a fad where it comes top down. I have no issue with fads and trends that come bottom up because that is the nature of people. I have issue with trends that come top down where they want to innovate without purpose, right? Other than money. How would we deal with greed and hoarding then? What hoarding like would there be? Like, the reason that people hoard is because of a fear, like, other than, you could have a psychological condition that causes you to hoard, and I'm not talking about those people. I'm talking about the average, like you say, the idea of greed, right? Like, why would you take over, or why would you take more than you could use when you know that it's always going to be available? And like, if someone does that, there are solutions for those kind of people that we have used in the past for people who take more than they should. But even beyond that, it's dealing with that as a community issue. That if someone feels the need that they have to take more, right, then the community should be looking after that individual in order to figure out why they feel that way. The AI could help with that. Like, the AI can, is it a psychological condition? Do you need some therapy? The idea is that once you meet everyone's basic needs, a lot of these problems just kind of melt away. And everybody doesn't need a personal cleaning bot. Maybe houses, you get a visit every third day. Like, it depends on what's most efficient. Maybe there is an efficiency in everyone having a personal cleaning bot, where it's just there. That way, like, because one of the things is, like, okay, so I got my cup, I knock my cup over, it spills on the floor, it needs to be cleaned up right away. And if it doesn't get cleaned up right away, then, there are problems that come from that. If a portion of the liquid gets in a place that I can't reach, then there's problems that can come with that kind of thing. So it might be more efficient to take care of it at the soonest opportunity, in the same way the healthcare. If there's a healthcare issue, it can be best to take care of that soonest rather than wait for some future moment. So, but again, like, once you were able to compile all of the data and look at the trends, you could make that type of determination. Nobody's looked into it. Nobody cares to, because there's no profit incentive to make that determination. For Barcade J, it's hard for people living under capitalism to have an idea what it'd be like to... State and Revolution. Read State and Revolution. Even if you're not into theory, read State and Revolution. It's small, it's thin. It explains exactly that concept. Things like that communism will be created by a future generation that doesn't live under capitalism in any way, shape, or form. Oh, oh, y'all just keep running. If we decide around solving problems people needs, we can find ways to solve those problems without needing someone to have a job. Yeah. Love for a global society that works this way. I have a question as to how would we accomplish this. 100%. That's one of the things that we're here to talk about. Country laws created prohibitions on what people could do fashion-wise, so they created new fashion style. We're talking still about fashion. Peacock's going to peacock. Imagine society replaced competition with collaboration. 100%. Been listening to Everybody Loves Communism during my walks. I'm not sure what that is, if it's a podcast or whatever, but sounds interesting. I have no place in my, like, you don't understand. I got the headphones in and I'm constantly listening to something about something, because y'all don't realize how fast this stuff moves.
Has been done, and sort of undermine the entire concept of essays, which is not great news for me. But what we say is AI is actually different from what AI actually is. Because the technologies behind the AI isn't actually what we would call an artificial intelligence, but what is instead called machine learning. Machine learning is, extremely overly simplified, a way for a machine to brute force learning onto itself. You can give a machine a bunch of inputs, ask for a specific type of output, and then simply tell the machine which outputs are correct and which ones are not. And over time, they will take certain aspects of what the is, and filter that out. Which means that you're gonna start getting computers that can recognize objects and then also generate things that look like those objects. This extraordinarily oversimplified explanation is essentially how machine learning works, and it's how you get technologies such as ChatGPT and the AI art generators, or even self-driving cars. A lot of self-driving car technology, for example, is built on the idea of cameras recognizing things in the road and identifying what those things are. But all of these technologies require training, or more accurately, people to tell the machine when it's doing a good job or not. And the thing is, you have been doing that for years. Those CAPTCHA, when you're doing those types of human verification things, you are training a machine to identify the thing that you are currently identifying. A few years ago, I remember you had to recognize a lot of boats, but for the last couple of years, it's been a lot of stop signs and signposts and people and buses and bikes. That is because you're training cars to identify what they see in the road. And it works.
I think that CAPTCHAs were one of the greatest diversified, community-based AI, machine learning, education projects ever. It became very natural and very comfortable for people to just click the boxes and then move on. Couple seconds, move on. And that happened like so many times per day, right? The issue is on the other end where it's the profit motive in companies and all that. But the thing in and of itself I thought was amazing, and I think that should continue being part of the process.
Works
Yeah,
great for
100%.
human verification because a machine can't do that yet. But you're training one in order to do it. But this is not artificial intelligence. The term artificial intelligence has been devalued a lot in the last couple of years by idiots who want to market their machine learning solutions as more advanced than they actually are. These are pattern recognition machines or pattern generation machines, which sometimes can actually be quite deceptively smart. ChatGPT, for example, recently apparently passed the bar exam.
You absolutely should. See, it'd be a nice time capsule to see like what your thoughts and opinions were then and compare them to now, which is what, 40 years later?
And students have been using it to cheat on their essays now for months. So it's obviously smart enough to be able to do those things. But they're only smart enough to do those things because those things are repetitive or predictable. You can spot the flaws in these machines by posing weird questions, and you can see how the machine actually thinks about things, which is not at all. Which is how you can end up with AI that creates interesting solutions. Take, for example, the famous philosophical question of the trolley problem. A trolley is coming down and it's going to hit 5 people. But you can pull a lever and it will only kill 1 person. However, you have to do an active choice that will lead to the death of 1 person in order to save multiple others. This is a difficult philosophical question, but it's very easy for ChatGPT because ChatGPT will just pick whichever one kills the most women. And this video is about AI and the criticisms that it's come under, of course, but also whether or not we can use AI to do Marxism. Hi everyone.
cyber Marxism is fine, but cyber socialism just has a better. I think it has a better branding.
Let's talk a little bit about the history of AI. Even though AI has become a huge talking point in the last couple of years, it's not really a new thing. Machine learning is, just roughly, a way of statistical analysis that has been more and more refined. A statistical analysis that can refine itself. Early prototypes have existed since the 60s, and these early machines would mostly be handled by human operators who would manually feed in the input and double check every single output. A very tedious and long-winded process. Some machines, like Cybertron, which was developed by Raytheon Technologies, because of course, used a type of machine learning, specifically to recognize patterns in sonar and electrocardiograms. But obviously, before the advent of proper computing technology, the research into machine learning was very slow, until two major breakthroughs. And the first of this is backpropagation. This essentially means letting the machine do multiple tries on the same dataset over and over again, and trying to refine its own bias and its own parameters in order to reduce error. A machine can try to make 1,000 hands and then discards the vast majority of them, which are not very good hands. It keeps the settings that it used to make the good hands, and then it just does the process all over again, and over and over and over.
What about global thermonuclear war? How about a nice game of chess? Even there were no problems with the AI. The problems were with the people. The AI wanted to play chess, and if Broderick had just played chess with the damn robot, everything would have been fine.
Until you get something that vaguely looks like a hand. The other major breakthrough here is something called deep learning. This basically tries to emulate the human brain by having different layers or neurons, which basically focus on different aspects of whatever task the machine learning is focused on doing. If we're trying to analyze a picture, different neurons might focus on different parts of the picture, or even different aspects entirely, such as shape or color or light versus darkness and things like that. This is one of the reasons why some early AI-generated art looks kind of weird. Like in this picture, for example, you can clearly see the outline of dogs, and you can sort of see where orifices are supposed to be. You can see that the different neurons can each kind of figure out what they're supposed to do, but they can't really work together very well to form a cohesive image of a dog. A lot of technologies today use aspects of this in order to automate large parts of what you're doing.
I love these types of conversations. They're actually productive conversations that allow for recognition and provide solution to problems, as well as explore possibilities and innovations, a better and optimistic look for the future. 100%. I don't do debates, right? Like, I have, if you check the VODs, if you check the highlights of the VODs that no longer exist, I promote challenging questions. I try to, get people to think. But ultimately that's what I'm looking for. I want to take your ideas and my ideas, and together we kind of figure out, what works. I don't debate people, generally speaking, because one, I have heard all the debates. I have heard no conservative, no capitalist, no people of such ilk are coming at me with some brand new idea, right? So if they're not coming with a new idea, I already have a solution for it. I boil most of them down to the simple metric that I use that I already shared with y'all. And there's nothing productive about the conversation that we are about to have other than blood sports. And I can do blood sports, but I don't do blood sports. If you want to see me as close as I get to blood sports, go back and check my VOD regarding Adam Conover. Oh God. And I know why. I know why the Adam Conover, but we'll get to that after this is over. Those are the conversations I want to have are with people about how do we do the thing? How do we move forward? And I want those people to be good faith, and I want those people to, be willing to talk about the issues, and, that's what I'll debate about, is the how do we do the thing, not whether or not a thing should be done. Because it's the simple metric. If you pass the simple metric, then we're already past whether or not something should be done.
Your phone has
or your values are weird.
Artificial technology baked into it in order to recognize your face, because it has to recognize what a face is and how all the different aspects work together. When you're on TikTok and use filters, those are also powered by AI. They are all continuously trying to fit things onto your face. But these neurons aren't thinking about what they're doing. They are simply pattern recognizers. They can very accurately predict what should come next in a pattern. They can identify what a thing is and figure out what should reasonably come after that thing. AI art generators now are pretty smart at figuring out that eyes go in eye sockets and mouths have lips. And ChatGPT is very smart, coming up with really deceptively intelligent ways to phrase certain essays entirely.
And we're talking about the art and again, with my how I don't like when people use the term just when related to these things is the AI is learning to see, right? We know that the eyes belong in the eye sockets. And one of the things that you can do when you make a horror movie is have that not be the case. Like in Pan's Labyrinth, where the eyes were in the palms of the hands, right? By subverting expectation, we can make something seem creepy. The AI is coming at this from the opposite direction. That's the only difference. It's not a just, it's a you're not thinking creatively enough about what is happening here. And again, all these things are just components of the whole, not the whole themselves.
Entirely. But it's important to note here that they are only trying to figure out what word comes next in the order. It's trying to figure out what should reasonably be expected from the sentence that you're trying to create. However, these technologies have come under massive criticism
And the same thing with language. If I were to be talking and just say words that didn't spaghetti in the context of nuclear fission, then your brain goes, what the fuck is Globus talking about? I predict what word will come next in order to convey a thought. You predict what word that I am about to spaghetti in the nuclear fission in order for it to make sense to you. But if I use random words like spaghetti and nuclear fission, then the concepts don't make sense because they are not correct. Again, I don't like only and I don't like just. I think that people who use that phrasing lack a sense of creativity and imagination about how these processes work within the human brain.
A fair number of reasons. Facial recognition machines, for example, have oftentimes used a lot of white faces to use in their data sets, meaning that they can be pretty inaccurate or just flat out wrong when looking at non-white faces. And in some efforts to broaden the data sets that these AI use to train themselves, some of them just scrape images and data from the internet, data that maybe they shouldn't have access to, or images that they definitely shouldn't have access to. Multiple art generators have come under criticism for basically scraping a lot of copyrighted material from the internet in order to train their image generators.
And again, copyright is an issue of capitalism.
both from places like Getty Images.
We need 3 letters to essentially form the word. With context, our brain is so much faster than the self-conversation. 100%. You may have seen this. It was a meme format on Facebook a few years ago where they would take a word or sentence, and then each word within the sentence or paragraph, they kept the first and last word or first and last letter in place and then just jumbled the other ones, and made perfect sense to me. Like, I understood because all the components were there and the first and last letters were there, and so I knew what the word was, right? Because, like you said, the brain goes faster because it is a pattern recognition machine.
But also from independent artists. It's such a big problem that these generators sometimes replicate signatures or watermarks in the images that they try to generate themselves. Which might not technically be any problem in terms of copyright. I'm not super sure where this would fall within copyright law, but it's definitely not living up to the spirit of the law. Because these softwares are all commercial. ChatGPT, even though you can use it for free, can be a paid service for people who really want to use it to its fullest capacity. A lot of art generators are also used commercially, which means that a lot of images and artworks that are licensed are being repurposed for commercial use without the original artists actually getting anything out of that. And honestly, sometimes we don't even know how big this problem is, because a lot of times...
I'm not going to go over what I think about the AI and art situation. Check the highlights. It's all in there. Many conversations, many different points of view.
People might just create very crude softwares to scrape that data from the internet to use in their data sets. Softwares that we don't have access to and we don't know how they operate. And just because you can scrape a significant amount of data from the internet and feed it into your machine, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's legal or that it should be legal. And obviously there's also privacy concerns here. People don't know how these machines work, but they do make decisions on your behalf. When you're watching YouTube videos, you don't know what choices are being made in order to influence you to watch the next video. You don't get to be part of that decision making. I mean, yes, technically you couldn't go and search for whatever you want, but everything that shows up in your recommended bar is chosen for you by an algorithm that is unaccountable. A machine that you have no idea how it works. Which is fine for a YouTube algorithm, but maybe not for a speeding vehicle. So it's been
people love that
the
video.
Vibe of sort of like left-wing internet circles that AI and machine learning generally is mostly reserved for like nerds and people with kind of bad ideas. People like Elon Musk. But what if I told you that we could use algorithms, including the ones, somehow, that Elon Musk is part of, to build socialism? But before we dig into how to do that, we're going to have a quick history lesson about socialism in Chile. It is the year 1970, and Chile has had an election. After a very contested time, they select a president, and they select Salvador Allende, a Marxist who is the first Marxist to be democratically elected to a country in Latin America. Quite an achievement in the 1970s when the CIA is doing the most to prevent such a thing from happening. In fact, the CIA and other intelligence services actively tried to prevent him from winning, and he won anyway. As a Marxist president, reasonably he wants to do Marxist things, such as nationalizing major industries, expanding healthcare, making people less poor, increasing wages. You know, left-wing things to do. He's a Marxist. His government also did typical lefty things like land redistribution and nationalizing the banks. Again, fucking based. But one of the most dramatic things he did was that he nationalized a lot of mining companies. Specifically, copper and coal mines. Copper made up over 50% of the exports of Chile at the time, making up a significant part of the Chilean economy. Profits that probably should go to the people actually working in the mines, rather than international business interests. I mean, you can't be surprised about this rhetoric. He's a Marxist. This, however, meant that a large part of the Chilean economy was dependent on international copper prices, which, just at the time of his presidency, were plummeting. That is a shift of over 25%, which is pretty bad when it comes to one of your major international exports. Add to this the theory that the US might have done some sort of invisible blockade on Chile during this time in order to stranglehold Allende's presidency. This is a theory proposed by historian Peter Wynne, which, I mean, it wouldn't be too out of character for the CIA to do against a Marxist president in Latin America in the 1970s. Like, the CIA are always up to some shit there. And this economic turmoil is made even worse by the fact that a lot of people are striking in Santiago. People who are fed up with Allende's presidency and they want him gone. Protesters that maybe were funded by the CIA as well. And many of these protests were organized and led by sectors of Chilean society that had been better off before Allende put Chile on the path to socialism. A lot of right-wing political figures actively advocated for him to resign or to be removed entirely. It eventually got so bad that some political parties were advocating for him to be removed by the military, which is not a sign of great political stability. But while Allende offered to solve this crisis with a referendum, the military decided to act on their own accord. And on September 11th, 1973, the military besieged the presidential palace and Allende shot himself. And after the coup, military general Augusto Pinochet instituted an authoritarian dictatorship. A dictatorship that caused the deaths of thousands of people, tortured tens of thousands, and led to over 200,000 Chileans being forced to flee the country. The dictatorship began holding book burnings, burning Marxist literature, and eventually forcing people who had initially supported the coup to flee into exile. To consolidate power,
9/11.
the dictatorship spread a
Never
conspiracy
forget.
theory that Allende would make himself dictator, a conspiracy theory that was directly supported by the CIA. Which kind of begs the question, if socialism allegedly doesn't work, why does the CIA have to work so hard to make sure that it doesn't? Now, let's put a pin in Salvador Allende and all of that kind of stuff to have a quick discussion about economics. This video is about 3 different things now, so I'm gonna have to keep this even shorter than I already did. You know, I think, that we live in a capitalist society. You're watching this on a capitalist website, and I am operating in the free marketplace of consumerism. Long live wealth. But basically, the idea of free market capitalism is that people should be free to organize themselves into companies that can then compete with each other outside of state interference. I mean, you know what a market is. You live in it! The main argument of what is controlling price of goods and the condition of people is what's called supply and demand. This is the thing you are taught in every economics course. This means that goods, things that we need, any good, are dictated by people who make it. They set the price at whatever they want to, and we pay whatever we want to, and then we meet somewhere in the middle. And together we set the market price. This should allegedly lead for more prosperity and wealth for all, as we are all trying to create more wealth for ourselves, and then we barter and specialize in those goods to get more things. Yay, market. Some benefits to the market economy is that it can promote innovation, and competition leads sometimes, allegedly, for the prices to drop, and freedom! Freedom! And another benefit of the free market is that it can be very quick to respond to changing consumer trends. If someone wants a new thing, the market will be very quick to snap those people up. In fact, the market will sometimes be incentivized to create new demands and to form consumer trends. In an ideal capitalist economy, everyone would provide for each other in a mutual exchange of goods and services. But obviously that doesn't work out very well. Now, you might think this is a bad system for distributing things. I think so too. But there is an alternative to this, and that is called planned economies. In a planned economy, the market doesn't become itself, instead it is planned. Someone says what the price of bread is. Someone tells someone else to make that bread for this amount of money. The market doesn't dictate it. Someone else plans this economy. And in an ideal planned economy system, everyone should be in perfect balance with each other, where everyone can produce the goods that they can and receive the goods that they need, all coordinated by one central authority that can keep track of what everyone needs and how much everyone can make and balance it all out together. Some benefits to a planned economy system is low unemployment, because you can pretty much figure out where everyone needs to do to be employed, and you can always find something else for people to do. And also low inequality, because you're not going to end up with companies that have bosses and managers, because there's one manager, the state. Planned economies, however, have a hard time anticipating consumer needs, not really knowing exactly what a person is going to want, or how those trends are going to change over time. A system like that can be slow to respond, which has been the case historically. Now, all of this is coming together as one. Because Allende was a Marxist who was democratically elected, he wanted democratic control over planned economy system. And this is where we return to algorithms, and what I'm going to call cyber socialism.
There we go.
What if instead of manually planning the economy, it could be decentralized, automated, and left to the workers themselves? This is the basic idea behind CyberSyn. CyberSyn was a very cool name for a project launch under Allende's presidency that was meant to cyberpunkify the economy in the most based way ever. It was an interconnected system of machines that all were networked to each other and that all reported to each other, sharing information, all for the purposes of trying to organize a planned economy. The way it worked was the project would distribute telex computers to factories, warehouses, distribution centers, and many more places. And they would all tally up raw materials, stock, how many things have been sold, what kind of things have been sold, and they would all report them to each other. This way, the system should be able to predict shortages of goods and organize deliveries in a way that is much more efficient than modern day capitalism can.
There's a twist coming.
All of this data would be sent to a very futuristic control room, because it's called CyberSyn, and apparently Chile in the 1970s was just deep into cyberpunk. This system was built so that everyone along the entire supply chain would have real-time information about every single other step in the process. You would know how much the mines are producing, how many workers are sick a certain week, what kind of goods a warehouse needs at a certain time at a certain place, and all of this was meant to streamline the economy much more effectively than a human could. And this project wasn't just theoretical, or in the works, or pipe dream. They actually built this thing, and even though it wasn't complete by the end of Allende's presidency, it still managed to do some things. In 1972, when a massive strike is happening in Santiago, sponsored by the fucking CIA again, this system helped organize goods and services within the country so that Santiago would still get their goods, despite the strike blocking many major roads and taking up a significant part of the delivery workforce. This is a type of planned economy.
Hello, Barbara.
But specifically a type of planned economy that doesn't take over a market economy. The idea behind the final version of CyberSyn was that any essential good would be automated. Markets and companies can still exist, but if you need food, clothes, medicine, or any essential good, that system should be automated and planned by something that is more advanced than a human being. And not just for the purposes of having a planned economy, but also to actually build good old-fashioned socialism, as in helping workers all along the production line to make decisions about their own work and the work of everyone else, so that very different industries can have information and tools to self-regulate and to decide work for themselves. Literally cyber socialism. What this means in practical terms, but in a very narrow field, is what's called an algocracy. Rule by algorithm. The idea behind an algocracy is that human beings aren't super great at managing people on a large scale. which kind of makes sense. Human beings weren't really evolved to take care of millions and millions of people, and we're not really supposed to deal with people in terms of statistics. Algorithms, however, are really, really good with statistics, and they can analyze data far quicker than any human being can. Now, the concept of an algocracy might sound as a near-future dystopic fiction, but it's not nearly as fiction or near-future as you might think.
Twist.
But how does this impact us today, in terms of actually talking about algorithms in terms of the economy? And changing our complete economic outlook might be really difficult to do. This is where algorithms come in. Imagine a world where the goods and services that everyday people require would be logistically organized by algorithms instead of by individual companies seeking to increase profits. This idea of incorporating unaccountable programming to make major decisions on our society might sound scary, but algorithms basically already control half of our entire financial systems, making decisions that cost or make millions of dollars without any human input. So it already works in the financial sector. So what if we incorporated it in everyday life? What if we built our own CyberSyn? But Mia, you say, these technologies are extraordinarily flawed. Yes, they are, but they're flawed because of who makes those systems and what the purposes of those systems are for. But obviously this is a big pipe dream. This is not something that actually exists today, and it's not something that we can implement tomorrow. This is a fantasy, a utopian vision of things that could be.
Wait for it.
It might be a complete waste of time to do it, right? Like, I wouldn't actually advocate for the institutionalization of a system like this, where algorithms control market desires and predict what we should want. Am I advocating for creating a system like that? No, I am not. Because we already created it. This is the basic idea behind the book, The People's Republic of Walmart. The People's Republic of Walmart is a thought experiment in a book that deals with the idea that we already live within multiple planned economies, taking Walmart as a case study. The authors, Leigh Phillips and Mikhail Rozvorsky, argue that Walmart kind of works as its own planned economy system, a system that is very similar to CyberSyn. A big reason why Walmart has become so successful was because in the early age of instant internet communication, they adopted it extraordinarily quickly. This means that in addition to having a complete understanding of consumer trends, because you will find out the second someone buys something from a store, you also get a lot of information about future trends. And there's a few aspects here that give Walmart a benefit over other companies because of their planned market system within the company. Data analysis makes up a significant chunk of the success behind Walmart, along with its massive scale, meaning that a lot of aspects of their production line can be automated and cheap. But this system is also held up by the idea of continuous replenishment. If someone buys a good, odds are at Walmart that good will be replaced the next day.
This is also very similar to how Amazon functions, right? There's nothing wrong with the way that Amazon does the process of distribution of goods, right? Like if you push things on the app, you push button, within the next couple of days you get item. That's pretty goddamn impressive. It is the profit motive that is the problem, right? That is what it is. If we could automate all those processes and the people did not have to do the shitty ass jobs, and Jeff Bezos didn't have to make enough money to fly his dick rocket, then it's actually a great idea. Same with Walmart, for the same reasons.
Deliveries to Walmart stores happen pretty much daily. And that doesn't just happen for the stores themselves, but also to distribution centers and warehouses where customers don't really go. And they're able to do this because of that continuous communication through the entire production line. The people at the start of the production line will know when they have more things to make, when things are already being bought. They don't have to wait for warehouse stocks to go down. Sounds very much like another system of managing goods, doesn't it? This means that one of the greatest drawbacks of a planned economy, that it's very slow to adapt to consumer trends, is completely eliminated. But this is just the planned aspect.
If you listen to people have debates, when they talk about planned economies being slow to react, you now know that that is not in fact the case, because we now have the technology where that does not have to be the case. And Walmart and Amazon are your examples.
What about the algorithms? Well, a lot of this is already automated. Walmart stocks and orders are basically automated by computers already, and Amazon has gone so far as to use algorithms to optimize their own workforce, trying to get as much statistics on how much they pee, how much they work, how much they stand, and how much they actually work. Now, all of this could also be said for Amazon and a lot of other big box stores that basically operate in the same way. Sure, they still work within a for-profit capitalist framework, but the way that they work internally can very well be adapted for other purposes. For example, if one were to nationalize Walmart. If Dark Brandon decided to nationalize Walmart and still use it basically the same way, but removing the profit incentive and instead shifting it towards the public good, it would basically work the same way as CyberSyn did. And this isn't some pipe dream idea, it's a real proposal by many people who want to shore up supply chains that clearly can't manage themselves during any economic instability. And it's also a thing that's being explored in Argentina, where the Postal Service is launching basically its own version of Amazon. The benefits of this are multiple because there could be more democratic oversight, federal regulations that would have to cover workers, and government economists would have an insight into market trends in real time. Basically a very small-scale version of CyberSyn. Now, it's important to note that the authors of this book aren't advocating for this to actually happen, but they are presenting alternatives to traditional ways of thinking of the economy, or revitalizing the idea of a planned economy. Obviously, AI and machine learning and these systems of interconnectivity are pretty problematic in many respects, but it doesn't have to be like that. The problem here isn't the algorithms, it's the use that they're used for. So when we talk about these technologies, let's talk about them as tools rather than dangers. They've already built it, now let's use it for something actually good. Hi everyone, thanks for watching the video. This one was a bit shorter than the usual, just
So, how do we feel? What do we think? Does it make sense? Are you picking up what I am laying down? Right? And this was, if you were here for the episode last week, I think it was Wednesday or Thursday. Sam Altman said about a UBI of 13,500 per year as being, per person, as being something that like would meet people's needs. And you're like, there's no way, like you can't survive on 13. But the entire nature of all the things would change. What up, Up Dragon? Well, I mean, there's always the VOD. The VOD will be published shortly after I'm done. Yeah, like if food and shelter are a given, if all these things that we extract wealth from were just not like that, then 13,500 a year might be enough. if jobs were automated where we didn't have to pay wages, there's a lot of automation that can happen that we are resistant to, right? We as leftists, we as people, yeah, if life wasn't a goddamn DLC adventure, the issue is getting the government to do it, and the only way we get them to do it is to get corporations out of the way. Well, this is part of it, and I think I'm going to have to save that for Wednesday's episode, but sufficiently advanced artificial intelligence and automation makes there's no choice in the matter, right? Like, I'm really of the opinion that we are going to get to this place via just a tidal wave of resources that they are not going to be able to restrict. I'm up for this. Reminds me of a 100-year-old utopian sci-fi story I once read, but the title escapes me. It was all about supermarkets. Try ChatGPT. I've told this story before. I had 3 data points. I knew that this band with this song was a duo. I knew that they were doing electronic music, and I knew that the name of the band started with the and then the letter L. And ChatGPT, Google was no help at all. Google wanted me to sift through data until I bled out the ears. ChatGPT, within 3 steps, had me to the Limousines, Very Busy People, played it on the show. Try ChatGPT, it might be able to help you. Because automation is all too often causing the destruction of people's lives and well-being. That automation is because it's taking the jobs away from people, not providing them with more free time in which they can do things, right? Like, we should be using the automation to maximize what people, to make sure that all their needs are taken care of, and then to give people the time to innovate and create and work on things that actually get them moving. Yeah, Philip K. Dick, probably. I have my doubts. I only know what's on the internet, really, and that shit's old. You might want to give it a try and see what happens. I'm going to do everything I can to recommend that every one of you uses every piece of AI software that you can get your grubby little mitts on, because as I showed you earlier, I spent a couple hours today adding to the data set of a logical progression of how, if the AI is aligned with human values, then some sort of socialist economic and political policy is the only option. So when that goes into the data set, I hope it gets weighted heavily. And I'm propagandizing the friggin' AI. Do the work. Philip K. Dick did a lot of great writing. Yeah, no, that's right. That's fair. That's true. Taking away the need to pay for those things being automated. Way we're using automation is the problem, not the automation itself. 100%. Like, I scream this. Chad is annoyed with me at this point in time because of how I'm like, the AI, the algorithms, they said in the video, like, no, the tool is not the problem. It's the use at which it's being put to the people is the problem. Got to run. Neighbor needs tech support. And thank you for coming by, Barkeita J. I look forward to hearing you or seeing you in the future. And yeah, Mondays, I'm here for anybody who came in on the raid, anybody who hasn't been here before. Mondays, Wednesdays, I do AI, I do this, right? I pick a topic, I pick a subject, I pick a thing, and then we talk about that, and I provide you with the education and act as your avatar to talk to other people and stuff like that. Yeah, we need, and see, I don't like utopianism, right? Like, I'm not like, I feel like there's an unfortunate amount of magical thinking that happens within leftist communities. It's like, what do we got to do this? Oh, we got to build dual power. Okay, what does that look like? And then what's the next step, right? Like, I want to see practical solutions. You got to lay it out for me, right? And no shade on anybody reading theory, no shade on anybody doing mutual aid. I got a mutual aid right there saying donate to the mutual aid. I right? Like, we could talk about how money is imaginary at high level. It's really real at the cash register. I can keep these two things in context. But there's plenty of leftists talking about that kind of stuff. There's plenty of people talking about all that kind of stuff. This is what I'm talking about, because if you want to talk about that, somebody's already doing it. This is me. Yeah, well, I don't think any of the things that should be automated should be run by a private entity. I think we should just automate the shit out of everything. Thank you, Buff Dragon. Say that more magical thinking on the right, but you have a point. Magical thinking is something that happens to people who, because it can be disheartening, right? To look at some of these things and like, how would we ever change this? What is going on? All that kind of stuff. So, like, magical thinking can creep in. We just got to kind of keep that shit at bay. I ran out of GPT-4 tokens, writing a Chrome extension that will do text-to-speech while highlighting text on the screen with FFRW play pause functionality. Oh, fast forward, rewind. If you pause on a selected sentence, you can click a button to get it a Chat GPT lookup from within the article. See, this is why I love Old Lobster. It's like, like this is my community. Like, we have people who have different educations, and by education, I don't mean like how far did you get in high school. I mean, like, what do you know? What knowledge do you bring to the table? And I don't gatekeep the knowledge. Share whatever you got. Join the Discord. Talk about stuff, right? Like, if you got more questions than I am able to cover in this episode and you want to talk more, I'm in Discord. You can find me. I'm on Twitter. You can find me. I'm on Twitch all day long. I'm in somebody's chat. I am easy to find. If you want to step up and have an actual vocal conversation because you feel you have some context, hit me up on Discord. I have no problem. Kpars is a chatter. Doesn't stream, doesn't do any of that. But we had a great conversation last week about intelligence and consciousness, which was very relevant to what we were talking about. You should, like, come on. Nothing but love. Economists often go, money is imaginary and doesn't have intrinsic value. Beyond that, it's like, again, I said it already. It's like, I feel like it acts as a bottleneck. At one point in time, it served a purpose for temporarily lodging the technicalities of barter, right? Like, barter is something where
The potential and the peril here are huge.
Thank you for the follow. It is where, like, I give you chicken, you give me a goat, right? But what if I don't need a goat? I can take money in exchange for the chicken and use it to buy a goat at a later time. That's what money should function as, right? And I feel like we've evolved past the need for money anymore. Make things transparent to everyone. I think that was the point back in Chile. And it's distinctly possible that the blockchain that the folks were talking about earlier could aid in that, transparency and everything else. I don't necessarily have an issue. My issue is with cryptocurrency. I don't think we need currency anymore. And my experience, not personally, but watching the way that crypto has functioned in the real world, is that it's a lot of fairy dust and fluff and mirrors and rug pulls, right? There's a lot of people making shit up, and it functions, as a currency. It suffers from the same issues that a commodity-backed currency does, which is that it's prone to fluctuation, right? If by the, like, let's say you base your money off, bananas, right? And there's 100 bananas, and your money is worth whatever based on the 100 bananas. And I acquire 99 of the bananas. Now, because of the low supply, the price goes up, so the value of the money goes up. And then I sell one of my bananas, and I make a bunch of money. And then I sell all my bananas, and the price crashes, right? This is the issue with a commodity-backed currency. This is what Coconut Island. This is why everyone has gotten off the gold standard, right? Or generally speaking, as far as I know, everyone has gotten off the gold standard because of how commodity-backed currency can wildly fluctuate. This is trading places, 100%. Money is more useful than bartering for the reasons that I already said. We don't need currencies that behave like commodities to speculate on and leverage wealth against those who don't have it, which is what crypto is. In everything that I already just said. Yes, we have no bananas. We have no bananas today. I've been wondering about a cryptocurrency-like thingy that conceptually is little used for speculation. It's on shower-level thoughts. It'd be something to definitely explore, but again, I don't think that we need currency anymore. Training, planning, childhood development, manufacturing, healthcare, customer service, engineering, public safety, city planning, development, and animal welfare and behaviors. It sounds like a portion of a sentence or of an idea, and it's probably related to something I said about a minute and a half ago. Everyone got off gold standard except those sketchy gold banks shilling on Fox News and Trump rallies. 100%. And, you can't say, okay, not 100%, but yeah. Because you can't determine, right? I can't determine what you're thinking. I have no capacity to do that based on the fact that we are two separate human beings. I have to intuit things based on a variety of different indicators. And if you are shilling gold on Fox News and at Trump rallies, that indicates things to me about your business model. It's a joke that had layers with the bananas. Like, you could have tokens that next in replacement of abstract value again, yes, but I'm not those are things you have an understanding experience in. Okay, so cool. No, this is all this is an excellent skill set, especially manufacture, engineering, public safety, city planning, and development. Those are important skills, especially to prevent things like magical thinking. There is people who talk about buses and trains and public transport, which I got no problems with, right? It's just there are other externalities that surround switching to that kind of thing that just have to be taken into consideration, and people don't talk about those, right? Unless you are going to force people to move back to the cities, certain people are going to be farther out from where those resources exist of public transport, So you need to compensate for that in some fashion. The bus shouldn't smell like stale cigarettes. Gotta do. there are like, if you watch the way that the Japanese maintain their subway system, other than the fact that like those videos of where they're literally stuffing people into the cars, that to me indicates some kind of issue that they need to address, like run more trains or something, or longer trains. But yeah, no, the bus should not smell like stale cigarettes. This is a problem. This is an engineering issue, right? Like, it's just a matter of figuring out how to make the bus not smell like stale cigarettes anymore. Like, these problems have solutions. Public transport is more complicated than people realize. It's not just a matter of getting, like there are two things feeding off each other. I mean, there is the issue of getting people to stop smoking. I personally smoke cigarettes. You should not. I recommend against it. One day I may quit. Adam Smith did more to ruin public spaces and common areas than anything, but he was based on landlords, so Berlin buses are in heavy use. Stale cigarettes are not the issue. Next. Like, I like things that, and more things can be reduced down to engineering problems than people wish to engage with. But I like things that can be reduced down to engineering problems. And then usually the question that comes up is, how are you going to pay for it? And that's a bottleneck. Fuck your money. I'm worried about how to get the thing to the thing. That's it. Commons weren't owned by landlords. They did use his denunciation of them to obtain that land. Yeah, that's a whole nother thing. Why is assholes not in my... Plus, he gave everyone a pass in being assholes to common areas. Things are usually more complex. Yeah, maybe that's it. All right, folks. I appreciate you all. You know where I'm going. If you haven't been here before and you haven't been to the Paradigm Shift before, you're in for a treat. Paradigm is my homie, my ace, my number one. If you enjoyed your experience, make sure you hit that follow button. And I'll be back on Wednesday. And I look forward to having more conversations. Hit me up in the Discord. All the stuff, all the videos that I include here are contained within the Discord. All my VODs get saved and then highlighted, so you have access to everything I have ever talked about. And it is possible that I might point you to something that you should watch rather than, go over it again. But that's actually highly not the case. I usually do exactly the opposite because I enjoy talking to people on the internet. In the meantime, drink your water, eat some food, take your meds if you forgot. Shuggy loves you. So do I. See you on Wednesday.